You're listening to Billiards Magazine and Music, an original Billiards VMSOA podcast where culture meets conversation. Hosted by Vania, Nairi, and Jaquan. Virginia in the DMV, more than a place for lovers. It's a sanctuary for dreamers. What's up, Virginia? I am your host, Vania Alonnie, back with another Billiards Magazine episode. This episode, we have a beautiful soul, amazing actor, a wonderful artist, and fellow NSU alum. He is an old friend of both me and Quan, and I just know this episode is going to be a moving one. So stay tuned. Nicholas Bennett is an actor through and through. A man of mystique because he has almost no public information on him on the internet, so I really struggled with this intro. He's undoubtedly an artist of variety, specializing in acting styles from Greek classical and Shakespeare to contemporary. He received his BA from Norfolk State University in English with a theater emphasis, and just recently graduated with his Master's of Fine Arts from the University of Florida. Please welcome my dear friend, Nicholas Bennett.
What's up? It's all Virginia, right? Are y'all just 7 cities, or is it like the other part of Virginia too? I want to make sure I'm saying hi to everybody.
Virginia, DMV area.
What up, Virginia, DMV area?
So who is Nick Bennett and where is he from?
Nick Bennett is a biracial, light-skinned brother that was born in the Rockies in Colorado Springs. I'm like, literally, if I could sum up like who I am, I'm like 2 halves of a whole. I don't know if that makes sense.
I had no idea you were from Colorado. Like, this is news to me.
Yeah, born there.
Like,
But
I thought you were from here this whole time.
No, I would have loved to be. Virginia changed my life, like in a way that I couldn't even explain. But I moved there when I was like 14, but I was born in Colorado Springs.
I feel like you get an honorary pass. Like, you're basically from Norfolk.
Virginian to give me an honorary pass. If y'all give me an honourary pass, and that's cool.
I'm giving you a pass right now. You're from Norfolk now. Yes. So you can start telling people that.
Okay. All right.
So you said it changed your life in a way that you can't even explain. Tell me more about that.
I moved to Virginia when I was like 14. My background in Colorado was it was kind of rocky, no pun intended, but there was we were homeless, me and my family, there were a lot of times where we were scrounging for stuff. So we had to get on a Greyhound. We spent 7 days on a Greyhound from Colorado to Virginia. And when you spend 7 days on a Greyhound, it does things to you. You be like, and sometimes you don't know if that smell is you or the other people on the bus. It could be your family members, but long story short, when he got there, in Colorado, I was black. And this is during Obama's election. So I'm yeah, pro Obama. I'm black. People had to remind me, Nick, your mother's white. And I was nah. And the stories I heard about Virginia was that there were a lot of black people out there. And I just could not wait to get around my people. I was yo, I'm ready. Let's do this. I've been telling everybody in Colorado that I'm black. Let's go. And when I got to Virginia, I was only there for a week or 2, and they were no, you're not black. And I was yo, what y'all mean? What y'all mean for a second? But it changed me in a way that it introduced me into what it really meant. And I know it's subjective, but it introduced me to what it really meant to be black. And it was all right, the culture, it was deep, it was rich, it was loving in a way that it wasn't in Colorado. I had to maneuver and carve a space out for myself. But what I learned in that community was that it was they accept you if you're raw, if you're genuine. And they showed me love in a way that was I would love to say that I was born there. The people of Virginia are they say Virginia is for lovers, but Virginia is full of just loving people. And they gave me a part of my culture that I was never going to get in Colorado.
I was always told by my fellow Black people that I was Black. Whenever I would talk about being mixed, it was always, but you're Black. And I'm like, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
I'm also part white. And they would always go, but you're Black. Not
Yeah,
until I
yeah,
got
yeah.
treated like I was Black by, suburban white people specifically, did I find out, oh, I get it now. So I'm just surprised that your
Yeah.
experience was you came to Colorado and they were like, you're close.
Yeah. I think it was the culture though. It was a part of like how I was. They were accents. They were like phrases that I was picking up on Virginia. Like I still use to this day. If you're from Virginia, you're not going to say, "Oh, that's hilarious." I'm weak. I'm weak. When I first heard that, I was like, "Yo, what a creative way to
and look,
say
and not
something."
even be laughing. It's just, I'm weak.
Yo, I'm weak, and I'd be like,
I'm weak.
"Where?" But I understood what it was like to be so weak that you were like, when you're laughing, it's like, or they don't say like in Colorado, we say junk. Yo, that junk over there. In Virginia is jank. Them janks
That
that's over
jank.
there. I was like, yo, the terminology out here is like, but I think because of like the culture that I was raised in, they were like, I would get statements like, you talk white. And I always heard there was a cultural difference. Then going to Norfolk State, then I got like the educational background of it. And it was like, and I was like, all right, I accept both parts of my heritage, but if I can be honest, I'm Black.
So, what do you feel like you gained culturally, specifically being at Norfolk State?
So there's a side of life. And because of the two parts that I say, I feel like I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like a walking. I do, in a weird way, walk between two worlds. But in the other world that I walked in, that I experienced out here, they don't know nothing about the Black. They don't know anything about the richness of that culture. They're completely ignorant to it. But when I stepped into and I immersed myself into Black culture, they are aware of both. And they taught me a level of humanity that was like, on this side, they don't even know about it. Uh, Black people understand, they're just human to their core. They understand, they have empathy. They have, and I speak about them like I'm not one of them, but this is what I discovered immersing myself in my culture. They have rhythm. They're just like the salt of the earth. They're artistic. And the things that this other side works really hard to do literally comes natural from my people. They're like born artists. They're born creative. They're born poets. And it was like, a part of that is me. And it was like, yes. And it was like, am I also that? And it was like, yes. Now I was the person in church. Like, it took me a minute to get some of this rhythm and stuff, but it was like, but they took me under their wing. Come here. This is how you do it. Swing your hips a little bit. I'm over here, the electric slide. And I'm like, oh, shit. They're like, no, have fun with it. I'm like, all right, all right. The white part of me was stiff as hell, but I don't know. It was like the golden ratio, if that makes sense in a weird way.
Yeah. How long has acting been a dream of yours?
So when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a comedian. But in between 5 and 16 years old, I had wanted to do so many different jobs. And it wasn't until around 16 years old that it kind of came back around. And that was when I decided that I wanted to just really be an actor. Was it like that for you? Did you always know that you wanted to be one, or was it like?
Oh, I didn't even hear you ask that question. I'm sorry. Absolutely not. I don't think I always knew. I think I always wanted to act, but I don't think I always knew that. Um, I think the first memory of wanting to perform something or be in anything, I think like my first real like inclination towards theater was the movie Annie. I fucking loved that movie. That one out of all things. Like when I was real young, I used to watch the movie Annie over and over and over again. And I wanted to be able to sing the songs. I wanted to be able to like do the show. And at that point, I didn't really know that theater was a thing. And then, you know, it just was always kind of a thing. I just never really expressed to anybody how much I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't know it was a thing that people did enough to go tell mom, hey, I want to do theater. So theater didn't become a thing that I did until I got kicked out of said performing arts school that will remain unnamed. And I was at my home school, Booker T, and I did fences. And that's when I started acting and realized that, like, I really wanted to do it.
Fences at 14, dude?
Man, let me tell you something. We had no business doing that play. We had no business doing that play.
At 14?
You and I are both aware that your goal of getting into grad school, you already have your MFA, but your goal of getting into grad school was not attained immediately. There was a waiting period, a very long, arguably rough waiting period. Yeah, I mean, what would you say about that? Like, just what are some initial statements about that period of your life?
I didn't even know about grad school until closer to like my junior year of undergrad. I kind of started getting like introduced to it. But I had a lot of conflicts in my undergrad. I was a different person than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more rowdy, headstrong, stubborn. I was rambunctious. You know, I had a tone and a flavor to me. But I guess in my personality, there were a lot of people that I assume I rubbed the wrong way because the door for grad school for me wasn't as open and as clear as it was for everybody else. So coming towards the end of undergrad, I had to try to find that path and do a lot of that myself, whereas a lot of my peers were supported by you know, a theater company that was willing to. But I had kind of excommunicated myself and gotten kicked out of the theater. So it was like, it was all like trying to tackle something from scratch. I had no support. I had nothing that was like pushing me along. So my initial year of trying to get into grad school, I'm under the impression that it just, you know, it didn't work out. But after that, for the next like 4 years, I was like continuing to try it. But I had graduated with a 2.9. And I think that that was one of the, also like a really big factor as to why I didn't get in. So ironically enough, in between that time, I was, because I was also homeless in undergrad. Like the only way I was able to complete my undergraduate degree was because Norfolk State housed me. And that's why I love Norfolk State, because it literally wasn't just my school. It was kind of where I lived for like 4 years. But when I left, I was afraid that a lot of my friends were getting like shot and killed. And I was like, I was afraid that it would happen to me. The year before, I got held up at gunpoint, and that changed my life. I was like, oh, dang, you know, like that could have been it, you know. And I remember thinking like I hadn't really accomplished much in my life, but I wanted to. And I wasn't going to stay in Virginia because I felt it was too dangerous for me. So I just started running. I didn't really have nowhere to go. So for like a year and a half, I was just kind of on Greyhound, sleeping on people's couches, kind of trying to figure out where I wanted to go. I still had a headstrong thing that I wanted to be in theater. And at the end of every year, I would try to apply for grad school. First year, I had to go to Chicago, and I went to Ohio to get to Chicago, and they wouldn't even look at me. Like, it was just tragic. It was like, but I had a job offer in Ohio to do juvenile corrections, which I know is like, but I started doing juvenile corrections, and I was like working with these kids, and I'm like, and I want you to know, these kids was gangsters. I thought I knew some gangsters back home. These kids were gangsters, but they had behaviors that I understood, right? It was like, they walk into a room and they just start flipping things, going on. And everybody's responding. They're reacting to it. And nobody was responding. And I understood it. It was a spirit that was familiar to me. So I decided to try to help them. And in helping them, it kind of healed me in a way that toned down the rambunctious behavior I had at Norfolk State that I didn't even understand. So I worked at 3 different facilities throughout that time. And each year I would go back to apply for grad school and I got nothing. And I remember I was working at one facility and my kids were like, I call them my kids. I don't have children, but they changed my life. Like, I love those kids. They were my boys. Obviously, I ran a boys' hall because, you know, I'm not going to the girls' union. I look like I come out of a 17 magazine, and that's just not going to be good for my future. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that. So I was like, just keep me on the boys' hall. I know the boys. Like, I got them. And I remember they'd be like, Mr. Nick, what did you want to be? And I was like, I wanted to be an actor. And they would start busting out laughing. And they'd be like, and I would just start quoting like some Shakespeare. And I'd be like, do y'all know what that is? And they'd be like, no. And I would start trying to teach them that. And I loved that work so much that I came to the conclusion that I'm not very religious, but I know there's something out there that is on my life. And whatever it is, me and that thing have a connection. I know that there are people who are religious that have a label for it, but I don't label it. I understand it as what it is. And I made a prayer to this, a covenant, a statement to this thing. I was like, look, I might not be an actor, and I'm okay with that. I appreciate working with these boys. I think that I can help them because they're helping me. But I was like, just give me one more chance to do it. Like just one more shot. And I just want to feel the thrill, the electricity of like what it was like to walk on stage. You know it. When you're like, oh my God, it's opening night. This is the adrenaline's pumping. You're like, bro, you're like all over the place. Like, I want to just feel that one more time before I died. And I was like, I will do this work for the rest of my life. And I remember I applied for the ERDAs, but, you know, I'm like, you know, it's not going to work out. They wanted me to go to New York, and I was like, I don't got the money for that, cancel. But they were like, no, it's virtual. And I was like, you know, you might as well, Nick. You know, you paid the money. So I went and did an audition, and there was a flood of schools that were like, yo, we want you to come here. I remember being like, is this really happening? And then it did. I think the moment I let go of what I was holding on to so tight, when I was like, fine, I think that thing was like, hey, you can have it now, if you still want it. And I was like, hell yeah.
What would you say to that version of Nick in like 2019, 2020 that was ready to give it all up?
I would say to just keep going because there's so much that maybe you don't understand right now. Just don't stop, you know. You might not know where you're going. You're going to be sailing and you can't see the stars. But just don't stop. And I mean, I would say that to the younger self, and I think I would end up right here. But if I could, I wouldn't change the trajectory of my younger self because I think I needed all that to be here. And in a weird way, it was like, I kind of learned to come to peace with my past because it was like, if any of those ingredients would have changed at all, Nick, you wouldn't be who you are right now. And I think it taught me to love and accept more that it's like, I know this sounds cliche as hell, but the destination isn't as deep as the journey. Really quickly. So like around 14 years old, I would have like a lot of like strange dreams that I really couldn't explain. But this is why I say I have a connection with this thing, because I know this thing was talking to me in a language that I could understand. But I'm getting ready to graduate high school and I'm on the baseball team. Never played baseball, ever. But the coach is like, yo, it's been a great year. Like, you guys go out into the world. You're going to make your staple, you know, da, da, da. He makes everybody go in the huddle. We all go in the huddle. We break. I'm walking away from the field and my coach grabs me and he's like, Nick, he's like, we're going to miss you. It was a great year, blah, 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 blah. And he hands me this envelope. And I open up the envelope and I'm reading the letter and I don't remember the contents of the letter, but at the end of it, it says, don't walk on the trail, travel through the woods. A trail to me is like a destination with a sure end. But going through the woods is like, you don't know. But somebody that paved a trail, at one point, there was no trail there at all. To the brave soul that did that, that's kind of where I am with my life. Like, it's going to be a journey. You don't know what to expect, but go through the woods. There's no formula to this. You can walk into a room and dance on a ball and like with one leg and recite like all of Shakespeare's plays. And they'll be like, no. You could crack a fart in a room where you don't think anybody is and they'll love you for it. And they'll be like, yo, come on, come on. But relinquishing that control, it made room for that thing that I was telling you that I kind of have that connection with. It was like, Nick, accept that you don't know where you're going. It was like, I don't know where I'm going, accept that you don't know what you're doing, accept that. And it was like, once I accepted all that, and it was like, now accept what you can do. And it was like, just do that, Nick. And when I did that, it was like, oh, I got casted. I got the role. Oh, I got in the school program. Oh, I got like, and I think that in a weird way, to simplify it, really receiving is in a weird way letting go.
What is your relationship to billiards and the projects you've worked on with the company?
I worked on an untitled pilot with billiards. But prior to that, which I'm low-key upset about, Quan, we're going to have to go out for lunch, man, and talk about this. Because during my time at Norfolk State, billiards was still in development. I'm pretty sure it was an idea at the time, which is to see it flourish into what it is now is like nothing short of amazing. I love to see it. Every time I see something up about billiards, I'm like, this is beautiful. And just the quality of what's the word I'm looking for? The quality of just the work and the art that you guys are producing and like bringing people on board is like, so I mean, I always knew Quan had something on him. You know what I'm saying? I thought
We all knew that about Quan.
He's gonna leave and be like a supermodel somewhere, over in like Germany somewhere, you know what I'm saying? On the stage doing like one of them, you know what I'm talking about? The people that be doing stuff like that. Quan was like a real gym. He was just muscular. I was like, why are you so brolic, man? But talent and all that, I did not ever imagine that it would get to this point. And so, I mean, like, I'll say billiards, when I knew it, it was still an idea. And the little bit that I had the opportunity to engage in it, I think it's amazing. And for what it's worth, I know it's going to be something that's going to be life-changing. And don't stop, man. Because if y'all stop, man, I got some ski masks somewhere. I will find y'all in a parking lot.
I mean, I didn't really know about billiards when Quan and I were still at Norfolk State together.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know his ass was always in that study room doing something. What's so interesting to me about billiards is I really didn't initially believe that there was like a space for me in it. But it's also because I didn't really know what it was. And it wasn't until I had kind of just, accepted the invitation that he had put out to pretty much any of the creatives that he knew that I got to see more about what billiards was. And it actually took some time for me to really find myself in this space. But
right.
I think it really opened me up to all the different ways in which I was an artist that weren't just acting, but just my passion for other people's stories. And I think one of the most important things about Billiards Magazine isn't just highlighting other artists, but we have discussions that I feel like most artists don't get to have or don't get to share until they're at a certain space. Like, you didn't hear about Viola Davis and her experience growing up, growing up a young actress and going to Juilliard until she was Viola Davis. You didn't get to hear any of that
Right.
until she was Viola Davis, you know. Same thing with Denzel Washington. You don't hear about any of his struggles until he's Denzel.
I see.
It's just, I think being able to, even like with this discussion, right?
Mhm.
There are things that I'm hearing now that
Right.
somebody that's not me probably needs to hear the same thing, and they can hear that now. I think one of
I see.
the most fruitful things about billiards is you see artists being human, not just
Mhm.
artists. And you
Right.
would think that those things are, you know, but art is so commodified that people don't see artists as people. They see them as
Right.
see them for the things that they can produce. So in billiards, that's when you get to humanize artists as a collective, not just the ones that we see, or
Mhm.
not just the ones that have made it far enough for people to care to ask.
I
So
see.
if you were ready to give up at one point,
Mhm.
what was it in you that made you keep trying again?
It was that thing, man. Because I had given up. It was like, yo, I'm out. Like, yo,
Honestly,
like
felt.
I'm done. I'm done.
Would you
Without getting
share
pejorative.
the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Please.
Oh, well, would you say you ever shared this sentiment of like there have been times where sometimes like I wished that I could shake off whatever like that urge was to do more and just be
Mhm.
cool with just, and not that the job is less than, right? Sometimes I wish I was okay with just kicking acting to the curb and being an English teacher and never thinking about it again. Sometimes sometimes that is genuinely how I feel. Sometimes I'm ready to just kick it all to the curb. F being an artist, this is too hard and too heart wrenching. I don't want to do it anymore, which is not true, right? But
I
sometimes,
see.
you know, when it gets hard, it feels that way where you're just like, I wish that thing would get off my back because I know what you mean. Because if
I see what
sometimes
you're
if it was up to me, I'd be done with it. Sometimes if it was up
saying.
to me, I'd be done with it. But there's that thing. There's that thing that's talking to you that's going, no, 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 no. You know where you belong. You know where home is.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm like working at McDonald's, even juvenile corrections, and I'm still acting. It's like this is who you are. I don't think that people like you and me, or Quan, or anybody that's a part of billiards, I don't think that we'll ever be able to let it go.
That's why I said like billiards is,
Mhm.
and I say it just about Quan, but it is like become a thing that like I couldn't see myself walking away from as well. And I think those of us on the billiards team are like finding ourselves like taking our like pieces and like you know
Adding.
you know what I'm saying.
No, I completely understand. Y'all should know, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, this is beautiful. I have so much faith in it. Every time I see it, I'm like, I mean, just all the art and everything that's coming out of it, everybody attached to it. Guan, I can't tell you, man, how proud I am of you. Alani, you as well. Like, I think the work that you guys are doing is outstanding. I know beyond anything, what you guys are doing, it will change people's lives.
Do you feel like now that you are on the other side of something that you wanted for so long and you know had to fight to have, I mean, first, do you really feel now that you've made it onto the other side of that, do you feel like you're on the other side of it now?
It's like not real. It's still like, but I have a principle that I live by. The top of one mountain is the bottom of another. So I'm like, yeah, you made it, but almost immediately I started like right now there's this whole other thing that's like, you got to get ready for this.
What do you
It's
have to
like,
get ready
okay.
for?
There's a series that I'm trying to work out that they're shooting in Canada, and I'll possibly be going to shoot that. But I'm like, okay, like I'm in like a liminal space, a transition, and it's like, okay, well, there's this. I got to start there's this moment, right? And all of us and everybody that works at Billiards will start, they will at some point in their journey as an artist understand this. There's this moment where you're dreaming about what you want. And you spend so much time dreaming about it and you're fighting for it. And then all of a sudden it starts to happen. There's this fraction of a moment where you, and I can't describe it, it's the smallest fraction of the pie chart, where it's like the thing that you've been dreaming about for so long is starting to happen. There's a breath, however short, however quick, that's like, because now like your dream is coming true. And I'll speak for myself in this manner. For so long, I was afraid that my dream wouldn't. And for the first time in my life, now I'm starting to feel a fear that my dreams will come true. And it's like, well, like it's all this like really happening. And I think that's a moment, a very critical and pivotal moment for an artist. That's like, yes, it's happening. It's like, okay, all right, so how am I gonna maneuver through all this? So now that it's all done, yes, I'm very thankful and glad. It's coming in stages that I'm realizing what I did. I feel like what we do as artists, and I'm in no way, shape, or form taking away the nobility of a soldier, but in a similarity, the discipline and the energy and the focus that is also required of a soldier, in many ways, it's similar to an actor. You go out on these jobs, you deploy. You have to focus on your diet. You have to be locked in. And you're so locked in, it's like a warrior in a battle. It's like, yo, like, I'm so used to fighting, but then the minute the war is over, there's a fraction of a second that's like, peace and victory is like, but that only comes when you like lock in and immerse yourself in the work. And this 3-year journey for me was like that. So now I'm still kind of gradually like, where's the war? Because peace for me is making me like, does that make sense?
Yes. What's this next mountain that you're trying to climb? Like, what's the peak? What is your ultimate dream?
So I want, kind of like what you were saying, I want to be able to do this and have financial stability in it. I don't need to be famous. I don't need no awards. I don't need none of that. I would like to do this and make a living off of it. I would like to financially be stable. Obviously, everybody does. I would like to financially take care of my family and my friends. And ultimately, I really just want to like experience. I want to go around, do a bunch of different roles, meet a bunch of different people, bunch of different costumes. Like, this is it. I would like to try out for film, but at some point, I want to try and do it all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hope I can. If not, I'm gonna be under a bridge somewhere in Atlanta, and when y'all pull up and y'all see that cardboard box, that little sign, give me $2, y'all. I'm trying to get a McChicken. All right. I'm talking to you, Alonnie. Throw me them $2. I'm trying to get a McChicken.
And on that note, be sure to check out Nicholas Bennett on our June issue of Billiards Magazine on www.billiardsvmsoa.com and our Instagram page. And be sure to connect with Nick on Instagram at The Prince, but that is spelled THA_PRXNCE. Until next time, Virginia, I'm your host, Vania Alonnie. And remember, Virginia is not only a place for lovers, it's a sanctuary for dreamers.